This is the brand opposite of the uncensored voice. Welcome back to the show. Our guest today is Jeff McManus, fellow precinct chairman of Bexar County GOP and candidate for chairman of Bexar County Republican Party. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thank you, Randolph. Pleasure to be here. I'm quite excited about this.
Oh, I'm excited too. We got a lot of elections coming up, and so we're going to see what the people decide. First question I have for you today is, what brought you on board with the Republican Party and ultimately the Bexar County Republicans?
I started having an interest when I moved back to San Antonio about 8 years ago, and I became a precinct chair because I was curious to see what the Republican Party of Bexar County was about, what the Republicans in Bexar County were about. So I became a precinct chair, and I've been a precinct chair now for 7 years.
What was the most important priority for you as chairman of Precinct 3022? And you said 3 years you held that position?
7 years now.
7 years. What was the most important priority for you? What has been accomplished in your precinct?
Well, I use that as a platform to promote my Rule 72 initiative, which was addressing the problems that we have with Washington and the concentration of power and wealth in Washington, D.C.
Passing from Cynthia Brehm to John Austin, do you think that the Bexar County GOP Bexar County Republicans has become stagnant? Have we made any real progress during these past two administrations?
Well, there's a lot of similarities in the two administrations in that there's combativeness amongst the precinct chairs that attend the meetings. The difference is that it's a different group that's being combative against the chairperson this time, and it's a different group that was being combative against the chair last time.
I see. I understand that you want to reestablish and offer full support to the Election Integrity Committee that Chairman Austin said had completed their purpose, if I'm correct, and if that's what he said, which has spawned an independent committee in its stead. My question is, would reestablishment of this committee have an ongoing mission that could continuously keep an eye on and take proper action within the bounds of the law without being disbanded if it were to be reinstated into the Bexar County GOP Republican Party?
Yes.
Excellent.
No doubt about that.
How would you support that? How would you bring them back on board?
I would invite the group that's in existence now to participate directly with the Republican Party of Bexar County and hear from them how they wanted to proceed. My guidance would include the training of poll watchers, developing a full team of poll watchers that can be distributed to the different polls during the election period, as well as making sure we had qualified and caring election judges who are looking for the potential malfeasance that's taking place in the elections in Bexar County.
I understand that Chairman Austin had disbanded because he said they fulfilled their purpose. But what do you think the real purpose of that committee was, according to him?
I'm not sure. He never attended any of the meetings. He never came in and gave us any guidance as to what he thought our purpose should be. We had a chairman who went along with the guidance that the committee developed on their own. I do not know why he disbanded the committee. I've never spoke to him about that. He has never spoken to anybody that I've spoken to about that. So I can't read his mind.
As a fellow precinct chair, I'm a little disappointed in his leadership because I don't see him being really proactive on a lot of issues, most notably minorities, and we're going to get into that in just a moment. Well, actually, that is my next question. Reaching out to the minority voter is extremely important. There is no substitute for face-to-face voter interaction. Mm-hmm. So you are looking into reestablishing the South Side office and adding another one on the west side of Bexar County. My question is, from that is, what level of function would they have in relation to the Bexar County GOP headquarters?
They would be the reach out system from the headquarters, so that for an individual that was interested in participating with the Republican Party of Bexar County, they wouldn't have to come to the central office. They could go to a local office, meet people there, volunteer there, and get information and guidance concerning what they might do within that community to help us get conservative Republicans elected.
So with respect to the minority voter, there's a lot of talk and a lot of questions and a lot of concerns going on about their inclusion into the party, as far as leadership or certain tasks that might be delegated by the chairman. So having an open level of communication with our fellow Republicans would be essential to winning elections. On a different note, is you had mentioned, I just want to ask, is there any coordination with our surrounding county chairmans, Republican chairmans to that end, and how would you initiate a coalition for our common goal to support our state party organization? You had mentioned coalition of Republican chairs.
There was two questions, I think, there.
Yes.
And the first one I'm going to answer is that one of my first missions when elected will be to meet with each contiguous county party chair and hear what they have to say, how they would like to coordinate. And then as far as coordinating with the RPT, I've already spoken with our current chairman, Rinaldi, a couple times. He's a very intelligent guy. He's very aggressive to get in the process of working the party throughout the state in all ethnicities. Now, one thing I want to say to you, you left out the east side. I believe that we should have representative satellite offices in all directions of Bexar County. So I've added the east side after marching yesterday through there in celebration of Martin Luther King.
That's very important because the east side contains a lot of minority voters. And I think, as a precinct chairman, I think that we should do an outreach to them because we don't have an existing office now. And I'm not aware of any precinct chairs that are concentrated in that area, but it is important that their vote is heard and that they're included in the process, and they want to see the results of what they voted for. But in order to do that, we need to have constant communication with them. So you pretty much would see Bexar County headquarters as probably the north side, I guess, and then you want to reestablish south side. And so you want to go on all points of the compass on this. You want just 3 more offices.
If possible, without a doubt.
Is there a budget for that we can make that happen?
Not yet, but I have been working on communicating with people in anticipation of my chairmanship and asking them when they say to me, what is it that you want from me? I say to them, I would like you to help us put the party on sound financial footing and bring back some donors that used to contribute regularly to the party.
How would they stop donating? Were they frustrated with how the leadership was taking place? And
Again, Randolph, you're asking me to read somebody's mind. I haven't had that conversation. I didn't ask these individuals that I've talked to as to why they stopped donating, but I asked them, will you start again? And the answer I received was yes.
Well,
I think that's because of the professionalism and my intent to make this a Republican Party.
Well, that's good to hear. And so the bottom line is we need donations to come back into the coffers of Bexar County GOP and not concentrate always on the north side as far as the areas that we concentrate our work in at Bexar County GOP. Now, we have precinct chairs all over the place, mind you.
But we don't want to try to take the north side for granted either. So
Yes.
It's important that we focus on all points of the compass, as you referenced, and do it simultaneously. Even, I guess we'll have to start on the south side because we had our first office there, and I have plans and I have an idea of how to do this very economically. And not going to waste time going into that right now. If somebody's interested in those plans, please give me a call and address me or send me an email. I'll be glad to share them with you.
Well, so yeah, but the talk I've been hearing is just minority inclusion. So I guess and I think this is a fair question. What is your response to those that feel, quote, more of the same is getting little to nothing done, which some define as the establishment, a type of elitist status which does not benefit the minority Republican voter? What is your response to that?
I believe it's there. I believe it has taken place. I believe I've seen it in its most destructive fashion. We have to move forward. And so that the people know, I was elected vice president of my senior class. Okay, my senior class was 65% non-white. I was in a minority there. Because I was able to live in that environment, there's no reason why we can't do that in San Antonio and be as successful as we were in that class.
The bylaws of our party.
Okay.
Do you think they need to be redefined, rewritten to give an inclusion to certain members of the Republican Party that might not be on board right now?
Yes, to a certain extent. I think the bylaws are fairly well written, but it needs to be tweaked and brought up into the 21st century, understanding that inclusion is very important, and we have to make it possible for everybody to participate in our party that chooses to follow our platform.
I've seen meetings that I've been to that it appears like the bylaws are being disregarded when motions are presented and then seconded. And the minutes that are produced, are they now available online, or because I haven't looked at them recently, or have they posted them on the wall like they did last time?
They've been posted on the wall like they did last time. I don't quite understand why there is this concern of releasing the minutes from our meetings. I know nothing that takes place in our meetings and is included in our minutes that we're afraid to share with the general public. I don't comprehend our reticence involved in informing people where we stand, what we talk about, and what we want to see achieved.
How would your administration be different from that of John Austin's, categorically? Because there is.
I would say that the operative word would be education.
You know,
and sound financial basis. Education in the sense of educating the voters, the precinct chairs, and everybody else on candidates and issues, so that we know where we stand and where we want to push. Do we want to vote for this, or do we want to vote against that? Let the precinct chairs, who are the body of the Republican Party, who are elected from each of their precincts to represent those voters, let them determine our position on issues. Let them determine on our priority, whether it's the east side, south side, or the west side that gets the first satellite office. Let them determine what is our position regarding bond issues or the allocation of money in those bonds. And let me be the spokesman for the party and take that down to City Hall, to the Commissioner's Court, and let me speak for the hundreds of thousands of Republicans that exist in Bexar County.
So
I hope that answered your question.
It did.
Probably went a little farther than necessary.
No, that's fine. The more elaboration, the better, because we want to get as much information out as
Absolutely.
possible to the voter.
It's about being informed.
So as of right now, that is currently not being done. Our current chairman makes decisions based solely on his discretion. Am I correct?
I, for the sake of not wanting to be accused of hammering on the current chair, I've met with him numerous times. I've never come away satisfied, but I'm not going to go into details where I think he's been short in his actions and abilities and skills, and he's assumed certain powers that I would never assume.
Are those powers defined specifically in some type of Bexar County Republican charter for the duties of chairman?
No, they are not. He uses the term "as other issues may arise," which is one of the tweaks I expect to make in the bylaws, so that we don't give a free hand to somebody that decides to abuse their authority or their power.
And I can appreciate that you want to involve precinct chair input on party decisions. That would mean a lot to a lot of precinct chairs, and it might actually help us fill our precinct chairs that are currently vacant, because we have been adding, but it's not at the level that I think is satisfactory. So I appreciate that you want to include precinct chairs on that to make party decisions or come to a consensus on something, and then,
then everybody knows how we're going to speak, where we stand, where does the party stand. So when you go out to your constituencies, which is the residents of your precinct, as a precinct chair, you can say to them, this is where we stand. People vote on issues.
Right.
And the more we educate them on issues, the more informed the voter is, the smarter the voter.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And in light of the meetings that I've seen, it doesn't appear like we get much done. If there aren't any current type of definitions of what a precinct chair does, or what a vice chairman does, or what the immediate committee members do, would you be willing to open up a dialogue to see how we can define, so that way we can have a guide to know what exactly their duties are? Because you said there's an absence of that. We don't have that.
Absolutely, yes. I'm all for inclusion of everybody. I want everybody's ideas to come forth, and then unfortunately for those people bringing the ideas forth, they will probably be charged with coming up with a solution to those ideas and implementing them. So I invite you to form a committee that does exactly that, and then we can review that and determine how we move forward in defining what the actual function of a precinct chair is. It is somewhat defined, I believe, in the current rules that exist, but it is more, the purpose of a precinct chair is more expansive than it is defined, because they're supposed to bring to the party the feelings, the thoughts, the issues that are involved in their community. Whether it's new sidewalks, whether it's better lighting, whether it's better security, whether it's a better police patrol, that's what the precinct chair needs to be aware of, so they can bring it to the party, and then the party can support their needs in their community.
Why do you want to become party chairman, and where did the inspiration for that start specifically? When did it start popping up in your head that, hey, we need some change?
It wasn't a moment in time. It wasn't that one issue popped up. It was an accumulation of observances that I saw as a precinct chair at the meetings, the failure of the meetings to get things done, the failure of John to take appropriate action on certain issues and at certain steps. So at one point, I decided we need to find somebody, at least somebody, to run in opposition to John, because I did not want to give him a layup after observing all that he's done from the day that he started to the current time. And I'm not going to get into the details as to what it was that spurred me, because it was an accumulation of observations on my part, my efforts to guide him, my efforts to suggest to him. And I even suggested to him right after his election, I said, John, keep in mind, it's important to lead by example. Now that's a critical issue. I went out, couldn't find anybody else that had the time. I'm retired. I can make this a full-time job. That had the financial capability of mounting a campaign. I talked to, I'd say, 4 interested parties. Nobody would sign on. So then I decided I'd pull a Dick Cheney. I couldn't find anybody to run against him, so I committed to do that, because I was not going to allow the atmosphere that I'd seen develop under John and his abuse of power and authority. So I put myself forth as a candidate and have received a great deal of encouragement and support in this process.
And I've seen that a lot of people are supporting you in this race, and some are going for your opposition, Jacinto Martinez, and then so it's all 3 of you.
Yes.
He's running for re-election, he's running for an election, you're running for an election. And so I wanted to get a contrast of you versus them, as far as what your differences are, as far as that. How are your differences from, say, Jacinto Martinez's vision of the Bexar County GOP chairmanship?
I don't think our visions are that different. I think we feel a very patriotic core in ourselves towards our obligations to our nation and our local communities. I feel that he is a strong conservative in his beliefs, both on a private basis as well as on a political basis. He's hardworking, he's diligent. I don't think there's a lot of differences between me and Jacinto. Now, I do see some differences between me and John. And I really don't want to get into those, because it's almost, I don't want people to think I don't like him. I don't dislike John. I just think that we can do a better job with our party through a more inclusive atmosphere, and somebody that has experience and can spend their full time on this when it's necessary.
Now, if I'm correct, before John was elected initially as chairman, I think he said that he was going to be a more part-time, off-the-side type of chairman. Do you remember him saying that?
No, I don't.
You don't. So it seems my personal experience is it's hard to get a hold of him at any given time. I emailed him. I didn't know if I did it the wrong way. If I should have went through comms or email him directly. But when I try to get a hold of it, he seems to be a little inaccessible. Or maybe he's just busy, I don't know. Or maybe I didn't do it the right way or the official way. But I'm trying to
There
have
should
a
be
dialogue.
no official way, by the way. Just keep going. Keep going.
But so that kind of frustrated me. But I did reach out to him for an interview because he's the third candidate that I would be interviewing if he would give me some time to have him, make his case for re-election and see what we can accomplish that maybe hasn't already been done. So I'm hoping that he'll respond. I'm still waiting for him to respond. But in the meantime, Bexar County Republican Party has to move forward, and we have to. Something has to be different from what's going on right now, because we could get a lot more supporters and a lot more donors, and we could be a big footprint here in Bexar County. And with you wanting to put satellite offices on all points of the compass is very impressive, and I hope it's doable. At least one office at a time would be good. But would you want to start out with the south side, and then west side, and then east side?
Well, I know Jacinto wants one on the south side, and I have committed to him that if I get elected, he will have an office on the south side. And by doing that, we have somebody that will be a spokesman on the south side in that office. I don't have spokespersons for the east side or the west side at this point. So I'm going to take it one step at a time.
Yes, you have to kind of, as you go along, you discover an obstacle, you overcome it, and
That's
then,
correct.
And then you move on. And with you wanting to involve the precinct chairs on some of these decisions is a big thing.
Absolutely, I wouldn't do it without them.
And that's
they have to
something-
approve this. This is my position. As spokesman of the Republican Party of Bexar County, which is what the chairman is, I need to know what the body thinks regarding the Republican Party of Bexar County. It's not Jeff McManus's opinion that matters. It's the body of the precinct chairs who, through resolutions that are voted on by the body, that are approved or disapproved, that determines the position of the Republican Party of Bexar County, and therefore the statement that the chairman should be representing. It's not what I personally think I need to say. Now, right now, I'm speaking for myself.
Yes.
But when it comes to the future, I will be speaking only what is approved by the body. Now, I may suggest ideas to them, and I probably will.
Well, of course, you have that right because you're.
Well, it's a discussion.
Everybody is in like a town hall meeting kind of atmosphere.
Correct.
And so everybody gets heard, and then we have rules, and we have motions and second motions and stuff like that. So even if you didn't, if you happen to maybe disagree with something that the precinct chairs had a consensus to, you would still implement what the will of the precinct chairs have voted on.
Absolutely. And anytime I deviate from that promise, I want everybody to call me out on it and say, listen, Jeff, we voted for you because you're going to represent us, not because you want to be king.
Right, and I really appreciate that. That's an answer that I think people have been wanting to hear at some point, because there has to be some accountability, and at least if you don't agree with something, but we voted on it, and that's the will of the precinct chair, and as a elected official, and you being the spokesman for the entire county, it's our job as precinct chairs to let you know the will of our precinct.
Correct.
And those involve voters that would vote for our Republican candidates, which we hopefully will get a bigger turnout. Typically the primaries are lower, but the regular election is going to be much bigger. And so we as a precinct chair myself, speaking for myself, I say I appreciate that you want to involve us in that process. Hopefully you agree, but even if you don't, if we vote on it and we come to a consensus, it'll be implemented. That means a lot.
Correct.
Because we need
That's a promise.
It's a democratic process, but we're not the Democratic Party.
That's correct.
There's a very big distinction there.
That's correct.
And so it's my hope that we'll become a model for other surrounding county chairs of the Republican Party. And so we need good leadership, and it's my hope that if you're elected that you can deliver on the promises or your vision, and involve us on these.
I will deliver on my promises. And the promise is to be inclusive and have the party state its positions on issues and candidates and get the vote out for or against the issues as the party determines the position we should take.
And obviously that is not the case now.
I don't think so. We're not educating. We try to get voters out. We send out cards and say, go vote, but we don't really take the position like in the A and B in the last election. We should have explained what each one was about ourselves. We reiterated what other people wrote, but we as a party never brought it to the floor and had a vote so that we could say that the Republican Party of Bexar County stands here, because the vote was never held by the precinct chairs at any of the meetings. Do we support A or are we against A? Do we support B or are we against B? It was sort of like, oh, you go make up your own mind. But that's not the purpose. We need to educate people. When it comes to constricting or defunding the police and putting restrictions on them and their ability to maintain order and control crime in Bexar County, that should be our position, that we support them in their efforts.
Absolutely, and that's 100% on point. Which takes me to another question. Endorsement of candidates. As far as endorsement of candidates, does the Bexar County GOP officially endorse Republican candidates or give them resources they need, whatever race they're running, as long as they're registered Republican?
I was thinking about that last night. I'm going to have to reread the rules that are promulgated by the Republican Party nationally and by the Republican Party of Texas and that of the Republican Party of Bexar County to find out exactly what the posture is regarding the endorsement of candidates, even in instances where there are more than one Republicans running in the same position, and also about what resources and funding we should be able to provide them and how is it allocated during the primaries, because the primaries can be very important.
Oh, yes.
They can be very important as to who you select in the primary. It can ultimately affect the strength of the Republican Party in Bexar County.
100% on point, because there were some candidates during one of the CEC meetings that were excluded from recognition as to running for office at all, and that I pointed them out because I was sitting in between them, and I don't know if that was a mistake or if it was done on purpose, but a couple candidates got called, but the other ones that did run hard campaigns and had volunteer door knockers were not recognized, at least by name, just saying that they ran, and thanking them for running, and even though it was a nonpartisan race, we all know it's partisan. But it's nonpartisan in name only, I guess you could say. But recognition of these candidates is important. They were upset. One of them walked out. One of our candidates walked out after not being recognized. But she was at the last minute, and then she walked out. But that was clear for everybody to see, and we're sitting in the back row. So some of the candidates, when they run, they want the support, or at least some type of recognition in a meeting or something would be meaningful to their campaign, if nothing else. So I'm hoping that whatever candidates are running, and we lend our support to them by name if they're running active campaigns, because I think that's fair to them. But also I would hope that if there's any resources available, that maybe they can use the office, and because we have one common goal, we're all Republicans, and ultimately we're all Americans. So that's a big thing. I was hoping we could just be more inclusive on that, because I saw like 2 recognized, and then like 2 others were not, and they just were upset.
I agree with you. I've observed favoritism practiced by our current management and administration.
And so I'm hoping, but I'm sure a lot of other people are, that decide to vote for you for Bexar County Chairman. We'll hope that you will take that into account for, just to hear their name is encouraging in a meeting like that, if nothing else. But I guess at some point in time we have to find out ways of and the process of how we would endorse or not, like you said, looking up the rules and stuff like that, and maybe we can define that in a platform or a statement or something.
We may make
or
a statement in the bylaws.
But bylaws definitely need a little bit of refining because times change, and we have to change along with it, but yet still be full-fledged Republicans and vote.
Well, we have to move into the 21st century, and I have to give a kudos to our communications committee, because not everything has been bad under this current administration. They're moving a little slow, but we are in the process of establishing a new website that is supposed to be robust and capable of providing a lot of information through connections and direct links to resources that candidates can use. Then the battle will come down to the content that goes in there and what issues we promote, and that will be directed by the precinct chairs. Again, without their input, we don't do anything.
I noticed you made that point multiple times, and I'm glad that you're doing that, because we want a voice too. You're precinct chair now, but you're running for a chairman, so you know what it's like to be a precinct chair and not be recognized, or have some input in a very large decision that maybe the chairman will rule on or
it's about knowing the rules.
So, with regard to the Bexar County Republican website, tell us more about what's going on with that, the current status of it.
It's being developed. We have executed a contract with a developer, and the communications committee is meeting on a bi-weekly basis at this point, so that we can bring this website to the fore with the new administration. It's going to provide a lot of links for data. It's going to provide resources for campaigns or for individuals also. I have to give kudos to Deanna Abiasi, who has chaired this and moved it forward. She's done a good job. The funding it's relatively expensive, but it's our first step of moving the party into the 21st century.
And we have the ability to keep that website secure at the highest levels, hopefully?
Yes, I called up to the RPT, as a matter of fact, and spoke with them in Austin when they were re-establishing their website after it had been hacked under West, and asked them who they were using for security reasons and how they were going to protect their website going forward, and I provided that information to the committee. So I hope that they're using the same process, because therefore we don't have to invent a new wheel there.
Exactly, and it seems like political websites are targets for hackers. It's pretty much all they do all day long. That's their job, and so having a secure website is very important for Bexar County GOP, and upgrading its features is going to be a big thing to make publicly available information readily available to them and easy to find through certain click links or whatnot. So that is I can highlight that as an accomplishment because I was there at the CEC meeting when we voted on it, and when we talked about it. I tend to sit in the front row, or at least second or third, because
it got unanimous support. I was very pleased with that presentation that Deanna Abiasi had written up. I was just the messenger at that point, and was the person, fortunately, to make the motion that we not only approve the website, but we also approve the funding. So that's been taken care of.
And so it is being implemented as we speak, correct?
It's being developed.
Developed as we speak, okay.
Yes.
And then implemented. And are there going to be any further meetings on that, should you become chairman, before it goes live? Or?
I'm hoping that it goes live before I become chairman, but I don't think we're going to have it live before March 1st. And so I hope that Dina Abiasi will remain as chair of the communications committee and complete that project.
And so the immediate people that are I guess the staff of the Bexar County chairman, what positions are there that immediately assist the chairman?
There's one authorized, and that's the executive which is, I don't know what the title there, administrative executive. And that's authorized for funding. I'm hoping that we can expand on that and elevate the professionalism that we have in our office.
Excellent. Now, you said there is no official way to contact the chairman, so if I just want to email chairman@Bexar County GOP, then I suppose that would be good.
You should be able to get in touch with the chairman over the phone, by email, either their personal email or to this party email, which is chairman@gop.org, I think. whatever the case, and you should be able to get a response on an immediate basis.
Oh, yeah, within a reasonable amount of time, like maybe he's doing something, but you
you should be acknowledged. And then maybe the answer to your question or the reason for your call or your email might take a little time to research and then get back to you with a solid answer, but you should be acknowledged that your email has been received, your voicemail was heard. It's important. I learned this in being in sales as a banker and as insurance for over 50 years. And the key to taking care of your clients, you see, in the party there as chairman, my clients are the precinct chairs. I need to respond to them because without them, I can't get anything done.
That's a good way to, that's a good concept of leadership, I think, going into a chairmanship and with the responsibility of precinct chairs having a voice, kind of like a body of, not really a legislative body, but a body that you can refer to, that we can vote and do it the democratic process.
Correct.
And I'm very comforted to hear that you agree to implement their decisions through the will of the precinct chairs, even if you may disagree with it.
Correct.
Because that would mean a lot, and that would cultivate more precinct chairs.
You know, that's an easy promise to make because we're all Republicans.
Yes, we are.
And we're all Americans, and we all believe in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So there are probably not going to be many instances where I might not agree with the consensus of the body, although there may be. But the body rules, in my opinion.
Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Okay, Jeff, if you want, look at the camera and tell the voters of Bexar County who have the power to elect you, what is your message to them specifically?
I hope to expand the Republican Party in Bexar County. Our goal, the immediate goal, the first goal, the most important goal, is to have Bexar County vote in the majority for the elected governor of the state of Texas, because that provides our party with an enormous amount of additional responsibilities and capabilities of influencing the policies and procedures that take place in Bexar County. My name is Jeff McManus. I'm running for chairman of the Republican Party of Bexar County. Thank you very much, and I ask you for the most precious thing that you have in your possession that you can give away, and that's your vote. And you should be very conscientious as to where you spend it and who you spend it on. And I hope I have given you enough incentive to spend it on me. Thank you, Jeff McManus, for chairman of the Republican Party. Back to you.
Thank you very much for that, Jeff, and I appreciate the time that you took out of your busy schedule to inform the voters of what's
thank
going
you.
on. And so once again, this is Randolph Pasillas of the Uncensored Voice. Thanks for watching, and may God bless America and the great state of Texas.
Amen.